Click on the on-screen annotations to go to wherever you'd like to see in the video. What's up YouTube, Rogie here, with a new guide. I am going to do an entire guide to the fight caves. To start off, I'm going to show you the equipment that I am wearing. Obviously not affordable for everybody, namely the completionist kit, but here it is, full Pernix, Divine, Chaotic Crossbow, and I've forgotten my fucking bolts. What a great start! Reverence, Aura for Prayer, but you get the general idea. Diamond enchanted bolts, or you can use broad bolts the entire way. I will also put a few screenshots on screen in a second to show you different setups for different leveled accounts. I'm using overloads here, but you don't have to use overloads. You can use regular range potions or extreme range potions, but bear in mind that if you do, you might want to use more brews, less restores. I will not use hardly any of these restores. I'm just bringing them just to fill my invent, really, out of OCD. Enhanced Excalibur to heal, Chaotic Rapier to kill the small creatures like the level 90s and the 45s and stuff. That's completely optional. I just find it easier than ranging him. If you're not so confident about the caves, I'll bring more brews. 6 is probably an ideal number, depends, maybe more. Other than that, that's pretty much the basic setup. Well, not really that basic, but yeah, I will put a few pictures on screen right now and explain them for you for different leveled accounts. Thanks. Right, the first setup I'm going to talk about is a pure setup. Pretty much I've put in the setup what I thought pures would use. Obviously I've never had a pure myself, so I don't know much about them. There might be a few things that are wrong. If they're wrong, then you probably know where to correct them being a pure anyway. The first thing I want to talk about is the monk robes. Obviously basic low defense gear, pretty much based off people with 1 defense. I know the mithril gloves were a bit stupid. I think they require 20 defense. If different, you can use lower gloves, but you know, whatever. Rune crossbow, pretty self-explanatory. Broad bolts require 50 Slayer, so if you don't have the Slayer level, you can switch them out for Addy or Rune bolts or Mithril bolts, whatever you want to, how much ever you want to spend money on. The Mitra, which is a pretty cheap god item, and it gives prayer bonus, as well as the monk robes. The god book, that can be switched out for anything similar, really. I think you need a complete Horror from the Deep quest. I'm not sure how feasible that is on pures, but I've seen pures with them before, so I'd imagine it's pretty doable. Ranger boots, they can be lent or switched out for other boots, like Infinity, I think, though I'm not sure again. Archer ring, imbued archer's ring can be lent. Obviously imbued can't, but regular can. Or if you can do mobilizing armies on a pure, you can imbue an archer's ring and use that. Yeah, that's pretty much it. The next setup I want to talk about is a reasonably cheap setup based around a main account. As you can see, I've got D-Hides, Rune Kite Shield. Rune Kite Shield can be switched out for an Obby Shield, which is also pretty cheap. An imbued Archer's Ring there, which can be switched out for a regular Archer's Ring, have you not done mobilizing armies. Can also be lent. Same as Climber Boots, can be switched out for Ranger Boots, or lent Ranger Boots, or Glaven Boots. Barrow's Gloves can be switched out for Rune Gloves, Dragon Gauntlets. Swift Gloves from Dominion Tower, whatever. Rune Crossbow can be switched out for Chaotic Crossbow. The Accumulator can be switched out for an Attractor or an Obby Cape or a Completionist Cape if you've got one. A Glory can be switched out for a Fury or an Amulet of Ranging. The Bolts can be switched out for Addy or Rune or Mithril. Their broad bolts require 50 odd Slayer, I think it's 55 Slayer. Pretty cheap to use, effective bolts. Archer's Helm can be switched out for pretty much anything. Knight is not Helm. Black D-Hide Coif if you've got them, Fist of Gothic's tokens, or a Robin Hood hat. This next setup is again based around a main account. Pretty much, as you can see, it's based around a little bit of money. As you can see, the DFS and the imbued archers ring with the Carols and the Fury adds up to about 15-20 mil ish. Prices might change in the future, but that's what it is about now. Black D-Hide body can be switched out for a Carol's body or an Armadillo body, with a Carol skirt can be switched out for a Black D-Hide chaps or an Armadillo legs. Snakeskin boots can be switched out for Ranger boots. Barrows gloves can pretty much the best you can get anywhere. Rune crossbow can be switched out for Carol's crossbow or Celtic crossbow. Broad bolts are pretty much pretty good. You can also switch those out for diamond or ruby bolts, or Addy or Mithril or whatever. Accumulator works unless you've got a completionist cape, and the helm can be switched out for a Robin Hood hat or an Armadillo helm or similar. This setup is a luxury setup based around main accounts with a lot of money, hence the Divine Spirit Shield and the Armadillo with the Ranger boots. Obviously the Divine Spirit Shield is quite expensive, around 700 mil, something like that. You can switch that out for pretty much anything, DFS, Spectral, whatever, Ellie even if you've got one, or you can downgrade to pretty much anything. With Armadillo, anything is pretty much effective. Divine is just there sort of for the damage reduction on Jad, you won't need it elsewhere. Ranger boots are pretty much the best you can get. Armadillo can be switched out for Pernix. Again, the Verax helm can be switched out for an Armadillo helm or a Pernix cowl. The broad bolts can be switched out for diamond bolts. The Archer's ring imbued can be switched out for an Onyx ring imbued. Yeah, other than that, the Archer's ring imbued's probably the best you can get. Barrows gloves again can be switched out for Swift gloves or Goliath gloves. Crossbow can be switched out for a Chaotic crossbow, and the Fury can be probably switched out for an Amulet of Ranging. The Invent, quite low brew count. Obviously, if you're not that experienced with fight caves, you can up the brew count a bit. Maybe switch out the extreme range potions with overloads. A few less restores, diamond bolts, and an enchanted Excalibur for obvious reasons. Though you need the Seer's Diary done. The hard one, you will get a regular one that can heal 200 life points. With the elite one, you get one that heals 400 life points. Obviously, the elite one being the better, but it's completely up to you. Either works, and it saves you a little bit of food in the fight caves if you don't have Soul Split. This level 22 here, the Tz-Kih, is the first monster that you will come across in the fight caves. In the first few waves you will get one or two of these. They will continue to appear throughout the fight caves in various waves. They're quite useful to get rid of first, because every time they hit you, even if it's a miss, they will drain 1 prayer point, or 10 prayer points in the new system. This is a level 45 Tz-Kek. When you kill it, it spawns 2 level 22 Tz-Keks. The thing about these is that they're pretty harmless, other than when you hit them. If you attack it, every time you attack it, you get hit 10 damage in return. So it's quite useful to kill these as quick as possible if you haven't got that much HP, or you can't afford to use that much HP. Simply because if you have to keep hitting it over and over again, even if it's a miss, you will be hit 10 damage. So and if you're quite a low level account, then it's good to get those out of the way with ASAP. On wave 7 you'll come across this monster here, the level 90 Tok-Xil. The thing about these is that they will melee and range you. They're quite accurate with range. They can hit upwards of 130, and they're pretty simplistic. In the first few waves you can just protect from range and you're fine. However, in the waves where you get the 360s, which you'll see later on, and the 90s, then they become quite a problem, because you have to protect yourself from both of them. Well, you have to protect from mage from the level 360s, and not die to the level 90s at the same time, which is it does get quite annoying, especially if you're a low level account. On wave 15 you will come across these monsters, the level 180s Yt-MejKot. These can be pretty deadly. Pretty much it's best to just range these and safe spot them at the Italy Rock, which is situated at the east side of the fight cave. Reason being is that if you melee them, they will heal, and not very much, but I'm not really quite sure why they heal off players within melee distance, but they do, so it's just best to stay away from them. Also, they have quite a deadly hit. They can melee you for upwards of 200s, so it's quite nice to stay away from them. And it would try to pretty much, I would try and safe spot these as much as possible, especially if you're on a low level account, because they do pack quite a punch. Especially on the waves with the level 360s in them as well, because you've got to be praying mage and you can't protect against their melee attacks at the same time. The next monster you'll come across is the level 360 Ket-Zek. You'll come across these in wave 31, and they're quite nasty in more ways than one. They have a nasty mage attack, which can do upwards of 500 damage, and they also have a melee attack if you stand within melee distance of them, which can also do upwards of 500 damage. They're not nice to be messed with, to be quite honest. The best way of taking these out, especially if you're low level, is to keep your distance and to range them from a distance. You can also, they're quite big as well, so you can use them as safe spots for other monsters like the level 180s and the level 22s if you don't want to kill those first. It's waves like this one that start becoming a problem when you get the 360 there, the level 180 over here, that you've got a safe spot, you've got a prey mage, stand by the Italy Rock while you kill the 180, kill the level 22, and then finish off the level 360. It's not quite as simple as that sometimes when you've got level 90s and 180s and 360s all in the same wave, but you've just got to do your best. Kind of like this situation here. Whoops, didn't mean to do that. Put long range on here, and you can get rid of the level 180 that stood behind the 360 here, and the 22s are behind that, so they're going to get stuck behind the 180, so you can probably leave them until last. It's just the 180 that you've got to worry about, because it's that's going to do damage should something go wrong. This is wave 49, and again you can see I've safe spotted the level 180 behind the 45 here. Monsters are brilliant for safe spots if you don't want to use the Italy Rock, which is over there at the east side of the room. For example, when you're stuck in the middle of the room and there's not really much place to go, use the weaker monsters as kind of a shield, like I'm doing now with the Tz-Kek against the 180. It's waves like this one that start to become a bother. As you can see, I've got a level 90, a 180, a 22 and a 360. 22 is draining my prayer, while the level 90 is beating me up from a distance, so I use the Italy Rock here, use long range, get rid of the level 90, work on the 180, and then we're free to move about. Obviously it might vary. If you want to get rid of the 360 first, if you're low on prayer, then that works too, but I prefer to get rid of the ones that can damage me most, because usually I have more than enough prayer. And then now work on the 360, and after this 360 is dead, we'll move on to the next wave. Another thing you can do to make it easier is get the 180 trapped here at this side of the Italy Rock, get the level 90 trapped at that side of the Italy Rock, that way you don't have to worry about its range attacks, and then you can kill off the 180, go around here, kill off the level 90, and then you can go and kill the level 360. Now here's quite an interesting situation. I've got a 360 there, but because its area is so big, it's got a 180 trap there and a 180 trap there, which is quite funny. As I said, oh shit, I just got melee'd. Yeah, see, you've got to be careful. It melee'd me a 0 there, but it's probably only because I'm pretty high defense. If you was 1 defense or whatever, it probably would have hit you 500, so you've just got to be careful, really. Simply click on the on-screen annotation to see either of TzTok-Jad's attacks to see which ones do which animation. Alright, so we're on wave 62 with the last 360. Now would be a good time to get everything ready, pretty much set yourself up, brew up, so that you're above 970 life points, which is Jad's max hit. I will try and put some sounds in to what Jad sounds like, but I can't record system audio without recording a Camtasia file format, which is a bit shit, so I'll try my best to put some sounds in for you. Yeah, pretty much here goes. What you want to do is you want to kill this level 360 here, and make sure you're over here northeast by the cave entrance, just behind the early rock. You want to stand here. I'll show you in a sec when this NPC dies. I'm not sure if you can hear that music in the background, but my sister's playing music while I'm trying to record a fucking RuneScape guide. How inappropriate. Right, here we go. So we stand here, pro range. You want to hover over mage, and if you hear a sound, switch to mage prayer quickly. There we go. I heard a sound there, so I switched to mage prayer. As you can see, his animation there. And there's his other animation. Those are the only two you really need to watch out for, is his magic and ranged one. Reason being is that you're only going to really pay attention to those two, because unless you're a pro, you're not going to get within melee distance of him. So there is really no need at all to get within melee distance with him. So what you're going to do is you're just going to stand here, press switch. Best place for him to spawn, by the way, is behind Italy Rock, but it doesn't always happen, as you can tell. I'm glad it spawned here because it gives lets me do an example. And now, when Jad's at half hit points, the healers will spawn. But the problem is, you've got to multitask here, and you've got to pay attention to Jad's Jad's attacks at the same time, because if you don't, he fucks your shit up. And then when you can, switch back to your prayers and your inventory to brew or restore or whatever if you need to. And why am I bloody wrong prayer switching for some reason? There you go. It's because the animations are really delayed, look. I don't know why. Looks like he's ranging when he's not. As you can see, he bows his head forward when he does a mage attack. Probably just about to get hit because as it is animation delayed there. Which is rather annoying because it can get you killed. And why is he not dying? Die. Come on! Die! Fuck's sake. There we go, he's dead. That one took a while, probably because the healers were still healing him. Best way to sort that is by killing the healers, but there's not always time. So there you go, that's how you get a fire cape, and that's how you kill Jad. Oh, there it is. I thought my fire cape disappeared. But yeah, you get fire cape and 16,000 Tok-Xil. Hope this guide helped. If it did, don't forget to join Skiller Friends chatting game or a community chat. And I will be Leave me your feedback on this guide and I will be making more guides like this in the future. Thanks for watching, subscribe.